Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the third session of the Bhakti-vaibhava course. So we are just going through the overview of the first Canto, first chapter. So we have just so far discussed the preface and the introduction, and then we have seen the first verse as well in the last class. So now we will continue to see the next two verses, then try to go through the rest of the verses in this chapter. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti-vaibhava Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So just to remind ourselves, in the preface to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we saw how Srila Prabhupada has presented why there was a need for this book, and in what circumstances the book has been written, and also we saw what is the qualification of the reader. Then what else we saw? We also saw what is the qualification of the author, or what is the character of the author. So all these four things we saw in the preface to the introduction, and Srila Prabhupada very specifically says what is the need at the present situation, how the Kali Yuga is in a very bad shape in spite of all the technological advancement. Society is in a very bad shape. So there is a need for re-spiritualization of the society. Spiritualization, we would say, you can say re-spiritualization also, but spiritualization because the whole idea of spiritual life is lost in this modern age. So Prabhupada brings into light that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will give that light, and that will help people from conditioning, being covered by the darkness. They will come to the light and they will identify themselves as the servant of God. Then in the introduction to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Srila Prabhupada very specifically he points out one feature from the Bhagavatam. Anybody remembers what's that? I will repeat the question again. In the introduction to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there is one main theme Srila Prabhupada is speaking about. What is it that the Bhagavatam is clearly highlighting? What is it that Bhagavatam is highlighting? If you very carefully observe the introduction, we did discuss about that in the last class. At the very beginning, Prabhupada discusses that. Sorry? Conception of the absolute truth. Prabhupada speaks about the God and the samam bonam, conception of the absolute truth. Generally, we generally have idea God as a controller, maintainer, destructor. These kind of ideas are there, but a complete conception of Godhead is all inclusive. Is a person. So Bhagavatam first of all gives a picture of the conception of Godhead, and then it introduces that who is that person. This is the specialty of Bhagavatam. It completely gives a whole picture of the absolute truth, and then it presents who is that absolute truth. So that is presented in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. Janmadhyasya yataha. Before even speaking about all the attributes of the Supreme Lord, what Vyasadeva does, he just offers his obeisances to very clearly, without any confusion. He just says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he is that Vasudeva, he is that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we will see later how that Vasudeve Paraveda, Vasudeve Paramaka, all those things will come later. But the point is, very clearly is delineating what is that absolute truth and what are all the attributes of this absolute truth. Absolute truth is that person. He is who has got all the six opulences, and he resides. He has a dham, and he has a place. And in what kind of a place, what kind of an abode it is. Dhamna svena sada nirastakohakam. No, that's also mentioned. These are various attributes. How he is Swarat, how he is Sarvagya, how is Abhignya, how is is just aware of everything, how he is directly and indirectly able to manage the affairs of this material world and the spiritual world. Then how his abode is not hindered by the illusions that is covering this material world, how there is no anxiety in that abode. What else we saw? Janmadhyasya yato anvayad itaratas charte sabhignaswarat tene brahmardayadikavya. Then again another supremacy of the Lord is mentioned. The whole entire Vedas were given, the knowledge was given to Brahma. Who has given that to Brahma? That was given by the Supreme Lord himself. Tene brahmardayadikavye muhyanti yat surya. Then what is his supremacy? Even the great Suris, they are getting bewildered. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam parangdimihi. Satyam. So he is the truth, and that truth Satyam, when we just say Satyam, he is the truth is emanated from him. He is the foundation of the truth. And we will see when we just go ahead, there is a very nice prayer offered by the demigods. If you remember, there is a famous shloka which talks about Satyavratam, then Trisatyam. All those explanations is given about how that Trisatyam actually this personality who is residing in your garbha, in your womb. So the demigods are coming and offering that praise. So it's very clear, Satya here refers to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then also the answers to the Vedanta, all the Vedanta Sutras answers are also right there in the first verse. So with that, so also we remember that we just saw that the very first verse, what is it that it is establishing? The very first verse of the Bhagavatam, we said prelude, correct. It is explaining about the Sambandha, the three processes of Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. Sambandha is the process of by which we come to know who we are, who is God, what is this world, what are we supposed to do, why are we suffering, what is going on. All those, you get a clear conception of who we are and what is the relationship with God, what is God's position. So this knowledge we get. So this Sambandha is established right in the very first verse. Now, after having come to know that Supreme Lord is He is the cause of all the causes, everything is emanating from Him, and once we have got this conception, we are offering our obeisances to that Supreme Lord. So then what are we supposed to do? That we are going to see in the second verse. So that second verse, it explains about the Abhidaya process. So Abhidaya is the process by which we can establish a relationship with God. So what is that Abhidaya? That we will see now. Okay. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedhyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam Śrīmad-Bhāgavate mahamunikrite kingva parairishvaraha sadhyo ridyavarudyate trakritibi sushrushubbhis takshanat. Okay. Let me quickly read the translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Okay, similar to the first verse, what we are going to do is, we will just try to look into the purport of Srila Prabhupada. We'll try to look into some of the important points. And what is it that the second verse is explaining? We will just take the verse and then just relate it to the purport. Okay. The very first line is saying Dharma projita kaitava atra paramo. Dharma means religiosity. Projitaha, how Prabhupada wrote it as completely rejected. Pra means complete. In one lecture Prabhupada says pra means complete, and ujita means rejection. So completely rejected. Kaitava, what is rejected? Kaitava. Kaitava means by fruitive intention, covered by fruitive intention. That's the word to word. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth. Now, this is the whole point. This is the speciality of this Bhagavata Purana. Anything which is not in line with pure devotion, this Bhagavata Purana is just putting it on the side, or it's just rejecting. Immediately it is offering, okay, you know what, this is our place, in our place, these are all the facilities available, these are all what that we offer, this is what is expected from you. Immediately Bhagavatam shines. It is such shining amidst all other Vedic literatures. It's just completely unique. It is just shining. It is just giving the pure devotion. There is nothing short of pure devotion you can find here. You want any kind of mixture, you have some misconception, everything, this is not the place for you. Chalo, just move. But very clearly it is just establishing this position. So projita, kaitava atra paramo, just rejecting all philosophies, all misunderstandings. We will see as we read, all ideas, even within the Vedas. Vedas is a vast ocean. It is like a big forest. Traigunya vishayo veda nistraigunyo bhavarjuna. In the Bhagavad Gita we hear this, there is so much of information which is in the Vedas that is available, which is pertaining to the aspects of this material world. How you can promote yourself to the upper planetary systems, how you can perform this yagya, how you can by even acquiring knowledge, you can still try to satisfy your senses. In every other process there is a selfish interest which is motivating someone to take up that activity so that you can try to enjoy separate from the Supreme Lord. So that conception is there. All these conceptions are rejected in the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is just okay, no, this is not the place. If you remember, we just said the other day, Bhagavatam begins where it begins. It begins after, if you have got Sarva Dharman Paritejya, that's the platform from which it begins. So that means what kind of dharma is rejected? All kinds of dharma which will not be for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. All other things are rejected. You want to perform anything, then you are in different category. Go, you want to enjoy that, you want heavenly bliss, go there. You want yoga siddhi, you go there. You want to attain Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, okay, you have a different path. But all those seekers who want the pure devotion, who want the real bliss, these are all the people who are the audience of the Bhagavatam. That we will be seeing. Nirmat Saranam Satam. Okay, let's. Prabhupada, in the very first paragraph, he just very clearly outlines religion and irreligion. Okay, so he speaks about how the religion is nowadays the whole. There is a concept of religion. The religion is supposed to mold a person from trying to enjoy the senses and come out of the enjoyment of the senses and try to approach life for higher purposes. That should be the motive of religion. But Prabhupada is making the point that but nowadays people are just leading animalistic life. So Prabhupada says religion is the extra function of the human being. Without religion, human life is no better than animal life. So that Prabhupada is establishing in the very first paragraph. Then Prabhupada further, he makes one very interesting point. I'm going to read that. In the lower stages of human civilization, there is always competition to lord it over the material nature. Or in other words, there is a continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. So, the idea of taking up religion is to, for what? So for gaining some power by which you can show that you are greater than some other person. Right? So you come and pray to God, I want this facility, I want that facility. You please, oh my Lord, give me this, give me that. So religion is also used for this. Okay, I will do this yagya and I will give this power. I will be able to get this benefit, that benefit. That's how, for economic gain, people have started using religion. But religion is not meant for that. You remember this word religar. So it is actually to connect back to the Supreme Lord. That which is broken, you just connect back, put it back. So we have lost ourselves, our relationship with the Lord. So by the practice of religion, we should develop our relationship. But that is not the goal anymore. Prabhupada is making the point. Man is thriving economically, so at present he is not very interested in religion. Churches, mosques or temples are now practically vacant. Men are more interested in factories, shops and cinemas than in religious places which were erected by their forefathers. If you remember, when Prabhupada was in the US, when he was in America, there used to be during those hippie times, even now many places also, there is the number of people going to church, number of people going to synagogue, it's gradually reducing. Almost many times it is empty. And you can see many of the ISKCON centers. You see the Montreal temple, many temples, if you see previously it was a church. You remember? So because that Prabhupada saw the situation is like that, when there's an offer to take up, he took up and he just made it into a temple. But that's a fact, plain fact Prabhupada is presenting. So this is the point. Consequently, all these states are simply different types of sense gratification. What is the different types of sense gratification? When somebody tries to take to salvation, to altruistic activities, in the name of religion. In the name of religion, what people are trying to do, they are trying to satisfy their petty goals of life. But the religion is not meant for that. So we will discuss that. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. What is that? Okay. In the Vedas, the above mentioned 4 activities are prescribed in the regulative way so that there will not be any undue competition for sense gratification. But Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. This is the point. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not offering anything mundane, anything cheap. That is within this Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. It is actually offering Prema Pumartho. It is offering, it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned Panchama Purushartha, the 5th Purushartha, or the actual purpose for which the human existence is, the humans have got their existence. The purpose is to give pleasure to the Lord. By giving pleasure to the Lord, by exchanging the higher rasas with the Lord, then that is actually giving satisfaction to the Lord, and in turn the living entities have also become extremely happy. Anandamayo Abhyasa. The Lord is happy and the people also become happy by engaging in this service. So this is the point. Jnana Kanda, Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, Panchopasana. So this, okay, let me explain you. So in the Vedas we can see all these things are mentioned. There is in fact the whole body of Vedas, major portions of the Vedas, what it contains. It's all Karma Kanda sections of the Vedas. So many, because Vyasadeva knew there are so many jivas who have left the Lord from the abode, and we are all in the material world. We all want to lord over the material nature. We all want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So everybody has got different desires. So the Vedas, it also comes in a very, the Vyasadeva has written many information so that gradually some or other he has to bring all the perverted souls back to the path of back to Godhead. So for that there are so many, like Balam rice, just, okay, you do this, you get that, you do this, you get that. So all these things are offered, but in all those things, there is a connection with Lord Vishnu that is established. Somewhere there is directly, indirectly, somehow. So slowly, it gradually gets purified. And by that purification, you will gradually, the soul is elevated. But it's a very long process, very tedious process, and it's a very cumbersome process, difficult process. So it could be a Karma Kanda. By the Karma Kanda process, you may try to go to heaven and like that. Then Jnana Kanda, by your mental speculation and all those things, you again try to merge with the Lord. And in Upasana Kanda actually, the actual Upasana is meant to worship the Supreme Lord. But in the Upasana Kanda also, there are some sections where sometimes there is demigod worship. There is those things are also, sometimes it is mentioned. But this is the problem. So now all those things, but the real Upasana is actually Upasana of the Supreme Lord. So all those things the Bhagavatam is rejecting. Okay, all these things is not going to make the soul happy. It is not going to give happiness for you. Okay. As a result, Prabhupada, in one of the Chaitanya Charitamrita purpose, he says, the first and foremost concern of fruity workers, elevation is, empiric philosophers and salvation is to raise their material position. So all these people, what they are trying to do who are those people? These empiric philosophers are all some kind of a jnanis. Then the salvationists are also trying to come out of all the sufferings, all the problems. So they are also trying to merge with the Brahman and like that. So all these people, there is always a hidden selfish interest. Their aim is to satisfy themselves. So that is why Chaitanya Charitamrita, it speaks of Siddhi Kami, one more. Mukti Kami, Shakala Shanta. Krishna Bhakti Nishkama Atayeva Shanta. That's why Chaitanya Charitamrita is explaining this. So one can be peaceful, one can actually be constituted in his perfect position only when he engages in this process of bhakti, which is pure devotion without any mixture of karma or jnana, or the motivated karma and then the speculative jnana. When it is free from that, then the soul can be happy. So that's the point. So that's why we can see many times people have this conception. One time one person was challenged Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is giving lecture, he was very loud and said, I am God. Prabhupada immediately just responded, you are dog. And then there was a big uproar, everybody was clapping when Prabhupada gave this thing. So Prabhupada has to smash all these misconceptions. And another time another person was also saying, I am God, He was as Prabhupada, then he just acknowledged him. He said that we offer you respects. Prabhupada, one time his response was like this, we offer you respects, please sit down, he said. And then he just sat down after that. There was another incident that was mentioned. All these main different conceptions, these are all projita, it's all completely rejected. The pure devotee is rejected. Bhagavatam totally rejects this. So this is the whole thing. So we will see as the purport goes, there will be some more points. Nirmatsaranam satam. So what is the first one? Dharma projita kaitava. So all these different misconceptions, Bhagavatam is immediately, sorry, there is no place for all these things. It is out, please go somewhere else. It is totally upfront, straightforward. There is no bridge preaching or anything. It just directly gives the message. It's all rejected. Nirmatsaranam. Of the 100% pure in heart. Prabhupada translated Nirmatsaranam as 100% pure in heart. Satam, or the devotees, or those who are devotees who are sincere, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So who can understand this message? What is this message? That pure devotion, that real dharma, who can understand? Or devotees can only understand. Now let's discuss this. Prabhupada says, it is purely transcendental literature which can be understood only by the pure devotees of the Lord, who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. In the material world, there is keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. But the devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions. Why? How the devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions? They are Nirmat Saranam. That's the point. They are just not interested in any of these petty things. They are non-envious. They are completely pure. They are not of any interest. They are not for competition. They are not for money. They are not for fame. They are not for any of these petty things. They are completely in a different platform. Okay. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from the material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone, and they strive to establish a competition-less society with God in the center. The contemporary socialist conception of a competition-less society is artificial because in the socialist state, there is competition for the post of dictator. It's a nice point Prabhupada is making. Hare, you are all your great big ideas of communism, and we will now everyone is equal. It's all artificial. It's not going to happen. So the spiritual communism can only bring forth real peace in the society. We discussed this when we were studying Isha Upanishad, right? The whole principle of Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Yatkincha jagatyam jagat. When you start identifying that the Lord is the supreme proprietor, He is the one who is a real owner, and we are all dependent on Him. Everything belongs to Him. When this conception is brought among the people, then the society will be a bright society. Okay. So this is very important to get the proper understanding of the conception. Devotees get that conception. They get that idea. They have that understanding that the proper philosophy is to understand that this pure bhakti is actually, that is what will give happiness. And anything to understand in that perspective, they are very clear on that. Siddhanta boliye chitte na kore alash. That's why we should not be lazy in trying to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Then our mind will not become fixed. So a devotee takes all the steps to understand the conclusions of the scriptures, which actually gives the message of pure devotion. Okay. Vedhyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam. Okay, just before we talk this, there is that a question can be raised. Oh, only pure devotees are eligible for this message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then what about others who are not pure devotees? What can they approach the Bhagavatam? Yes, others can also approach the Bhagavatam. Right there in the Bhagavatam itself, we see several instances. When Dhruva Maharaj, when he approached, he was not a pure devotee. He had economic gain. He wanted to get a big artha. He was interested in artha. Then we take the example of Gajendra, who was very much attracted by the opposite, his wife, and then he was completely enjoying. So you can give him as an example for Kama. Then the Kumaras, they were all self-realized. So all of them, the examples are given. They all attained perfection. They all became pure devotees. How? By the mercy of the, by influence of the association of the devotees. So we can see the example. So what is the key point here? Why one may have material desires. One may be covered, but doesn't matter if he gives sincere oral reception without exhibiting this envy, without not being in a challenging mood. If he, even with, as Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita introduction, theoretically if he accepts the message of Bhagavatam, approaching it with proper attitude, then he will be purified by that. So that's the thing. So, but actually, who will be able to appreciate this message of Bhagavatam? Only the pure devotees can appreciate Bhagavatam. One has to get purified to appreciate this message of Bhagavatam. Is it clear? Okay. Vedhyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon moolanam. The highest truth, okay, Vedhyam is understandable, Vastavam is factual, Atra herein, Vastu, substance, Shivadam, giving well-being, Tapatraya, threefold miseries, Unmoolanam, causing uprooting. Now, this particular translation of Prabhupada is very unique. How brilliantly he has put it. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. So this is another amazing aspect of the Bhagavatam, which is clearly it is delineating what is Sat, what is Asat. Right from the beginning. Where is very clear, okay, what is devotion, what is not devotion, what is favorable, what is not favorable. Anything you take, Bhagavatam immediately it clarifies where it is in the Vedic tree. Where is this standing? So Bhagavatam clearly establishes that. And Prabhupada here is making the very clear point, is establishing that Bhagavatam very clearly delineates how the Lord is a person, how He is the substance, and everything else are the categories. Okay. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives information about the absolute truth in His personal feature. So this is an important aspect that we learn from the Bhagavatam, that the Lord is not some energy, He is not some light, He is not some power. He is a person, and everything else, the light, the energy, everything is emanating from Him. Everything is coming from Him. So that Bhagavatam very clearly establishes. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is superior to all of this because it aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance or the root of all categories. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can come to know the substance as well as the categories. The substance is absolute truth, the supreme Lord, and all emanations are relative forms of energy. Okay, then Prabhupada establishes a very clear point of how the absoluteness of the Lord is establishing the Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. Development of this transcendental consciousness grounded in the conception of simultaneously one and different leads one immediately to the stage of freedom from the threefold miseries. When this knowledge is factually understood, one sees the conceptions of monism and dualism to be imperfect. I'll just go a little above. So that is it. So our understanding is very clear. The Lord is a supreme person. Everyone else is his servant, and the Lord is the source of all the energies. Everything. How he's a single person. From Him, everything is emanating through His energies. Everything is getting transformed. Everything is able to perform all His activities. He is simultaneously present in all the places. How He is in all the places is present through the energies. So this understanding we get from studying Bhagavatam. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically when all the different schools, when they defeated the philosophy of the Shankara, when the Advaitavad was posed, then there was Vishishta Advaita, then there is Dvaita, then there is Dvaita Dvaita. So what it is? So there is a conception of that the Lord does not have a form, or he is just Brahman, and then from there everything is Brahman. From there the clear conception was everything is Brahman, but at the same time we are different from the Brahman. We are also Brahman, but he is a Para-Brahman, and we are tiny, very tiny jivas, tiny souls. That concept is explained, and all these things is in Samam Bhavanam in Bhagavatam is completely made to understand. Then there is similarity between the jiva and the Bhagavan. So we are minute in quality. In quality there is similarity, but in quantity there is difference. But then Madhva, when he gave his explanation, he said that actually in quality and in quantity there is complete difference. But then Achintya Bheda Abheda, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, it just summed up everything, saying that yes, we are similar to God, but we are in a very minute way. But in quantity we are different. So there is similarity, at the same time there is difference. So the point is that if there is absolutely no similarity, then there cannot be any characteristics to compare. Correct? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, which is what the Bhagavatam also is explaining, it makes us understand. So we will, I've just touched upon this, just because Bhagavatam is explaining this, we will discuss some other time about this in detail. Okay, let's go back to the purport. Prabhupada says, but as soon as one comes to know his real position as transcendental servant, he at once becomes free from all miseries. As long as the living entity is trying to master material nature, there is no possibility of his becoming servant of the Supreme. Service to the Lord is rendered in pure consciousness of one's spiritual identity. By service, one is immediately freed from material encumbrances. So this is the point. So now what happens when you understand that all his misconceptions are illusion? So Bhagavatam is clearly showing what is reality. That the reality is the Supreme Lord, is there in his abode. We are all his eternal servants. We are all meant to serve him. Every other ideas, every other endeavor, these are all different projections of illusion. Identifying yourself as Indian, as a Tamilian, as a Gujarati, as a man, as a woman, as a cricketer, so many designations we can impose on ourselves. What is all this? What are all these designations? These are all different attacks of the illusion, that's all. But our reality is our existence as the eternal servant of the Lord. So Bhagavatam is clearly giving this message. We are the eternal servants of the Lord. The Lord is the supreme enjoyer. So clearly, reality distinguished from illusion. And what happens because of it? And that's really for the welfare of everyone. Then, the moment you get to know about this, what is the result? Tapatrayon Mulana. Right? What Srila Bhakti-vaibhava Thakur says? Jeev Krishnadas e Bhishwas korre toyar dukhanai. That's what happens. Immediately you are freed from all the sufferings. Okay? Yes. Now, okay, there is one interesting thing. There are many interesting quotes like this. Srila Bhakti-vaibhava Thakur, he said one time that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, take all the books in this world, in whatever field, whatever books were published, take all the books together, and if all those books are lost, only Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam remains. Nothing to worry in this world. Everything is first class. That's the perfection of life, he says. This one Bhagavatam book alone is enough. That will save the entire humanity. Okay. Śrīmad-Bhāgavate Mahamuni Krite Kingva Parair Ishwaraha. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva is sufficient in itself for God realization. So we have discussed enough about this. So he says Kimva Pararishwara. What else you need? Why you need any other book? So you may say sometimes, bro, it's like this when every Purana, every book, everything is saying like that. Specifically, Bhagavatam speaks about this because this is really non-different from Krishna. After Krishna left this world, Krishna came as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's non-different, and we saw sufficient quotes about that. So we will not be discussing much on this. Prabhupada. So one interesting thing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was constantly studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. During the day, who will recite for him? Bhagavatam. You remember? Gadadhar Pandit will always recite from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the night time, he used to hear other scriptures. But during the day, every day, you will very happily recite, you will hear from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. What he used to listen to? Dhruva Leela and Prahlad Leela. So he was very much interested in listening to that. And that's the thing, because he was not focusing on any other book. Specifically, he was very much focused on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we can also, in our life, so those books, as Prabhupada said, these 4 books, specifically Bhagavatam, we should make it a habit to read every day, day in, day out, we should read this. And then we will be very much enlivened in practicing Krishna consciousness. Bahu granta na koribe, bahu granta kala. So this is a, don't need to read too many books, too many things, I will read this, read that. Of course, in our Krishna conscious movement, so many books are being published. It's all to enhance the glory of the Lord. So whatever is favorable we read, but we stick, for us, what is the main books that we stick to? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, specifically books of Prabhupada, that is always giving the message of the Bhagavatam. And then all other books are actually all other books are meant for glorifying this. That's the whole point. So that should be our mood. So what is the result of reading this Bhagavatam? This Bhagavatam, what is the result? What happens of this? Sadhyo riddhavarudyate prakritibi shushushubis takshanat. So when shushushubhi, this word is so important. And takshanat, quickly, immediately, what happens? The Lord comes and resides in the heart of that seeker who sincerely, that's that nirmat saranam satam, when sincerely one seeks, when one takes oral reception, the Lord is so pleased. Shushushrubi, by culture, he says. By what culture? By the culture of this bhakti, by culture of this devotion, by culture of giving oral reception and giving oneself. So Prabhupada translates like this: as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Okay. So Prabhupada then speaks about what should be the attitude of the devotee. The proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word is shushushu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. This is the whole point. You may be where you may have some big brain power. You may be able to cram so many things, but actually the knowledge will not be revealed. The knowledge will be revealed when you give sincere oral reception, and you also engage in the service that is service to the Bhagavatam. One main service, when he says service to the Bhagavatam, is hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and also rendering services as per the advice of the Bhagavatam. One time, Jagannath Das Babaji, he had some disciples. Two people became his disciples. So those disciples thought that now Jagannath Das Babaji will give him all. He will also give them Babaji Vesh. So they were expecting that something is going to happen like that. But Jagannath Das Babaji immediately sent him to Mayapur, some field land, and he asked him to get engaged in some farm service. They were very upset. They were so, why he's sending us to farm? We thought we will do something else. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and explained. No, he's asking you to go and then do service in the farm. Go and do service in the farm. He knows when to call you back. He knows when to give what. So just listen to what he says. So attitude so much matters. That to give that, when even the message that is conveyed, you'll be able to digest it. You'll be able to get the mercy of the Lord and His devotees when we just stick to this process of the Bhagavatam, which is given by the Bhagavata. That's why we hear from the Bhagavatam. So people are also nowadays so busy, they are not getting any time to hear about this message of spiritual cultures. They are not so much giving any time. So Prabhupada is pointing out that there are so many people who are wasting time in so many unnecessary things, but rather they could give oral reception to Bhagavatam. And then Prabhupada he condemns the Bhagavata Saptaha. In the name of Bhagavata Saptaha, professional reciters, what they are doing, they are actually speaking so many things, and then they are actually cheating people in the name of Bhagavatam. They get money. There are so many. There was one in Chennai, Guru Maharaj in one class, he explained that he personally saw in Chennai, there was what was that actually? There was a class that happened, Bhagavata Saptaha. So many Marwaris and so many other people, they came. They are all giving there is some ritual that is there. I think they have to give umbrellas or something. I don't remember exactly. Something has to be given as a charity. So that speaker got all the umbrellas, I think. Then there was one shop from which they purchased it. So they went and then gave it back in the shop. They had a deal with the shop. Okay, then this fellow got the money. Then again for another program, this umbrella. So this is what is all cheating religion. All complete cheating is going on like this. So that Bhagavatam is rejecting actually completely. This is what is happening. Prabhupada is pointing out. Then Prabhupada here is also addressing another point that they immediately jump to the 5 chapters in the 10th canto. The Rasa Leela chapter. Immediately Bhagavatam is, that's the only thing. So they project it more as a sex literature. This is the nonsense that has happened actually. So Prabhupada never liked the concept of this Bhagavata Saptaha. Well, in ISKCON, there was sometimes this, Radha Govind, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj, they did Bhagavata Saptaha, but by their Bhagavata Saptaha programs, they did distribute so many sets and sets of Bhagavatam for those people who came. That's a different thing, but the whole idea, general idea that people have is that we'll do some Bhagavata Saptaha, we'll call some professional speaker, he will speak, and he will tears will come, he will speak about, how Krishna performed this act and how, what is that? They sing all this very, very poetries and all those things they sing. What's that? Makkan Chor and all those things they speak and then they cry. We went to Jaipur, some few years back along with Gokul Prabhu. We had been to Jaipur. There was one Goswami, had some long hairs and then he gives pose to the camera. And then, he has one big kerchief. And then sometimes when he speaks, really tears come and then he just immediately he has to give a pose also. And then he just does all these things, and it's just Bhagavatam is not this. Right in the second verse, it's rejecting all these ideas. There was one conversation that Prabhupada had with one German scholar. This happened in Hamburg. Prabhupada was conversing with him in Sanskrit. He's a Sanskrit scholar. So you can see in the conversations. You can just went on for a long time, and finally that Sanskrit professor is saying to Prabhupada. So that means whatever that I have learned for till now, it's all useless. Prabhupada says yes. Prabhupada immediately just gives his answer. So the point is that dharma projita kaita otra paramo. It's all projita kaitava. It's all, this is all not the actual message of the Shastra. So that's the point. Okay. Oh, and then a few other examples I wanted to say. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very much, he will get disappointed when his disciples will sleep during his class. And his classes will be for 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes he gives classes for 4 hours also. And language is very tough. You cannot understand the language. Most of them sometimes will be go above the mind what he is speaking. And still he will be very upset if they sleep in the class. And he saw Abhay Babu, he saw Srila Prabhupada. He was very sincere in trying to, Prabhupada himself says also, it's difficult to understand when Guru Maharaj spoke, but he was always giving sincere oral reception when he was speaking. So that was an amazing thing. Prabhupada also did not like when devotees slept in the Bhagavatam class, because this Krishna is manifested through the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna, so it was very important. So Prabhupada is saying that the intelligent person with thoughtful discretion can be assured by the great sage Vyasadeva that he can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas, one can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramahamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message. So this is the brilliance of Bhagavatam. You don't have to go through this process, that Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, this yoga, that yoga, nothing. Just directly, it's like a lift as we read in the Bhagavad Gita. Just take up the process of Bhakti Yoga, hear the oral message of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and then we can be uplifted to the transcendental platform of pure devotional service. So that's what is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam offering. And here if you see in this verse, if you see in this particular shloka, Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam Vedhyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Moolanam Śrīmad-Bhāgavate Mahamuni Krite Kingva Parairishwara Sadhyo Rid Avarudyate Atra Kritibihi Shushrushubhi Takshana. So 3 times Atra is this, it's just an additional information that Atra is 3 times, it's the emphasis. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Dharma Projita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it delineates what is illusion, what is reality. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that what it is you just take to the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, immediately the Lord will appear in the heart. So like that, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he's giving one point. Okay. So with this, the Abhidaya, the process, we know that Krishna is Supreme Lord, and we know that to engage in His service, we can serve Him by pure devotion. And now we will see the Prayojana Tattva. Ultimately, when we just take to this message of this Bhagavatam, what it is offering us, it's taking us to the path of love of God. We are getting the pure love of God, that's what every jiva is hankering for. Nigama kalpataror galitang phalam sukamukad amrita drava sangyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the matured fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Purport. So, we will again split this verse into 4 and then we'll try to see what Prabhupada said in the purport. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam. So, Nigama is the Vedic literatures, kalpataroho, the desired tree, kalpataru. Galitam, fully matured. This word galita in Hindi also it's called galit is there, this word is there, right? That means ripened fruit, something like that. What does it mean? I heard somebody told me that galita is gala, yes, this word, correct, gala means what? Paka, something like that. Rotten, is it? Oh, but somebody told me that gala, sometimes they use it for ripened one. Okay. Anyway, galitam, fully matured. Palam, fruit. The matured fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. So, we already discussed about this. I'm not going to further elaborate on this. We know the whole entire Vedic tree is there, and the entire Vedic tree, finally, the fruit of the Vedic tree is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That's what it is explained here. In other words, it is a cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So this is the ripened fruit. So that's what is the most important glory of a tree is when it gives the ripened fruit. That ripened fruit is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. So this is what the entire Vedic literature, entire Vedic tree, finally everything is churned, everything is, comes out as an essence. That essence is this ripened fruit. This is what the very first line it is explained. The Vedas are compared to the desired tree because they contain all things knowable by man. And Prabhupada finally concludes, regulated knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform. And the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. So this conception, what is it? See, this is what Bhagavatam is offering us. So far, many God is a controller, He's a maintainer, He's a destroyer. Okay. God does this. These are all His godness. But godness above the godness. He is an enjoyer. He is full of rasa. Raso vai saha rasam evayam labdhvanando hi bhavati. Famous quote of the Taittiriya Upanishad. This is what is embodiment of all the rasas. This is what the Vedas are explaining. So that is the Lord is He himself is rasa personified. He wants to have this loving exchanges with his devotees. With every jiva, he likes to have this relationship. So that is the key point. So that's what Bhagavatam is offering. What is Bhagavatam? What is there in the Bhagavatam? Again and again, great exchange of loving exchanges between devotees that we see in the Bhagavatam. Okay. So then Prabhupada gives definitions of the rasas. He explains, so what is rasa, what are the different rasas, how the 5 primary rasas, 7 secondary rasas, all those things he's explaining. So then he gives this definition of how all this rasa, all these different kinds of mellows are there actually to exhibit that is actually exhibiting this affection or love. So that Prabhupada is emphasizing. So basically Prabhupada is pointing out that this rasa, which is also the subject matter of the nectar of devotion, what are the different kinds of rasas are in various ways analyzed between the Lord and his devotees. And Prabhupada here in this particular paragraph is also explaining that the rasa, actual rasa, can be seen between the Lord and the living entities. That is the real rasa. Every other rasa that is there, whatever rasa, so-called rasa that you see, that is all perverted reflections in this material world. Actually, that's the rasa word. We can say, Prabhupada also says in the Nectar of Devotion, there is always some, why husband and wife, why there is a family, why somebody is doing something. There is something, some juice there. But that is very, 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 very insignificant compared to the real juice or the real rasa that is existing between the Lord and the jivas. So this is a key point we have to understand. So Prabhupada speaks about that in this paragraph. Okay, let's move to the next sentence. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. So Pibata, do relish it. Bhagavatam, the book dealing in the science of the eternal relation with the Lord. Rasam, juice. Alayam, until liberation or even in a liberated condition. This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is relishable by liberated and souls yet to attain liberation. So we discussed this before. So who is the audience of this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Both the candidates. One who is, he's just, there's a big ladder. In the ladder, he's somewhere completely, he's at the beginning stage. He has come in front of the ladder. Just he has seen the ladder. If you just go up this ladder, you will attain the pure stage. So he is also eligible to hear the Bhagavatam. He can also relish it. And the one who is above the ladder is already there, up there. He also relishes. So like His Holiness Bhakti-vaibhava Guru was explaining, we are in the gutter. The Lord is somewhere there, where are we? But both of us, the process is there, Okay, you take up this message of this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, start relishing, just give oral reception, day in, day out, submit yourself. And from the gutter we all from the gutter can come out. And then can experience this great rasa that the Lord is offering. And that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is offering that by giving oral reception to it. But as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This spiritual exchange or the spiritual exchange of rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. So this is the whole point. Just wanted to say that. Okay. What else Prabhupada is speaking about? Then Prabhupada is speaking how we should submissively hear. And okay, here Prabhupada speaks. I'll just read this. By submissively hearing the transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. Muni from the spiritual world and given to the disciple, Narada Muni from the spiritual world and given to the disciple Sri Vyasadeva. The later in turn delivered the message to his son. But one must be very careful to hear the message from the right source. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is exactly received from the right source. It was brought by Narada. Srila Shukadeva Goswami and Srila Shukadeva Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Parikshit during the 7 days before the king's death. So we all know that. So in Parampara we got the message, and we will see when we read the 4th chapter, we will see how Vyasadeva, after having compiled the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, when he narrated it to Shukadeva Goswami, very carefully he narrated it, and then Shukadeva Goswami, he just heard all this great message that he got from Vyasadeva. He, with great relish, he was full of, he himself is imbued with that rasa, and he just so wonderfully spoke to Parikshit, and Parikshit was completely satisfied. And that the whole exchange, that's why we will see now that after it was touched by Shukadeva Goswami, when this message came from Shukadeva Goswami, it became even more relishable. Okay. Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. So, what is ultimately this Bhagavatam is going, the impact of Bhagavatam on a jiva, what it is going to be, we all will become madman. So what happened? You come in touch with Bhagavatam and you become mad. So that's the whole thing. Mad means what? You become, or you can even sometimes say bhavuka means sentimental. You become, your sentiments are aroused. We say, don't be sentimental, we say. But our sentiments should be proper sentiments. That's what we want. We don't want just some blind faith, blindly doing something or just crying for nothing. Yes, ultimately we should cry. Ultimately we should just become mad. For what? mad for love of Krishna, for serving Krishna, for pleasing Krishna. That should be the goal. That Bhagavatam is taking us to that stage. Okay. It is especially relishable by those expert and thoughtful souls fully absorbed in the knowledge of mellows. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from his very birth. He was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person situated in the transcendental position above the three material modes, he was attracted to this transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by liberated souls who sing Vedic hymns. This is something amazing, no? Who was absolutely not interested in anything material. He just came out of the womb, and when he just heard this beautiful song of the Bhagavatam, he got attracted. So that means it's a very powerful message of this Bhagavatam. The Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than to mundane people. He is of necessity not impersonal, because it is only possible to carry on transcendental rasa with a person. It's amazing. See, you can see in Prabhupada's purport, wherever there is an opportunity, he will just establish his personalism, and he will explain how even the liberated person gets attracted. Because what was so attractive for Shukadeva Goswami? This rasa, the Lord's loving exchange with his devotees. It's completely, it stuns everyone when someone hears whatever that has happened when devotees outpour the great emotions that they have for the Lord, how they are selflessly surrendering. Whenever there is a test comes, whenever there is a testing situation, we can see how the devotees are responding. Whenever there are reversals you understand, right? Whenever there is a tragedy that happens in your life, when there is a calamity that happens in your life, a pure devotee, he just takes more shelter of the Lord. He completely depends on the Lord. When you just read this from Bhagavatam, we are stunned. You're completely, flabbergasted. Flabbergasted means you're just, wow, what is this? How in this Prahlad, in this situation, how he responded. How Dhruva Maharaj, he completely, with great determination, he went, and then he just said that, just everything is like a broken glass. What is this big Brahma's pose? I don't want anything. I just want to be engaged in your service. So like that, one after another, if you see the prayers, when you see the dedication of various devotees, different characteristics that is explained in the Bhagavatam, then it's full of juice. And everything culminates in the 10th canto with the gopis' great exhibition of the pure love they have for Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So this is various degrees it is being exhibited. So Shukadeva Goswami was completely attracted by that. And when he heard that, and when he started speaking, he became even more relishable. So that's what the next line says. Shuka mukad amrita drava sangyutam. Shuka mukad, from Shuka's face, amrita, the nectar, drava sangyutam, semi-solid and soft, and therefore easily swallowable. It becomes even more soft when Shukadeva started speaking. Perfect in all respects. The nectar from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami is semi-solid and soft. See how Prabhupada is so brilliant in presenting this. It's semi-solid and soft, and therefore easily swallowable and perfect in all respects. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, the subject matter is appealing to all classes of persons, including those who seek liberation to relish the mellow of becoming one with the Supreme Whole. In Sanskrit, the parrot is also known as Shuka. When a ripened fruit is cut by the red beaks of such birds, its sweet flavor is enhanced. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. So that's the whole point. So this entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam became even more tastier, even more relishable. It is full of juice when Shukadeva Goswami started speaking about it. So Prabhupada here glorifies Shukadeva Goswami, his position, how great he is, how surrendered he was. All those things he is explaining the rest of the paragraphs. And he just gives again the warning. He says that, so if we carefully give oral reception, probably the last paragraph you just see, Prabhupada says, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. So we should have this faith, and we should give proper oral reception to this Bhagavatam. So when we carry this Bhagavatam, when we daily, supatan, very carefully, with great attention we should read, we should hear this message. And with that great faith, we should also present this Bhagavatam to others. Go and distribute this message to others. Then what will happen? You see, Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. A devotee is also going out. And these are very powerful, powerful potency. Very potent. When he goes and then gives it to any person who may have no faith, nothing, it just shakes the person. It is immediately Krishna. When a person with even just little inclination, he takes his Bhagavatam and he gives oral reception to it, there is a big change that happens. That's why Prabhupada said that this particular book will create revolution in the minds of the misdirected civilization. So we should have faith in this. And we are seeing so many people becoming changed. And we can also see people, once they start to listen to this Bhagavatam regularly, they give oral reception to it, the life becomes completely changed, and they are more and more eager to hear this message. And there is one other statement. I think one of the acharyas, they are saying that this specifically, this what kind of a mango that they are giving explanation. There is a mango fruit. Mango fruit means there is a mango fruit, ripened mango fruit is there, and to eat that, what you need to peel the skin and you need to remove the seed. I mean, you can't eat both these things, correct? Now, this Bhagavatam is, again, another explanation is given that this Bhagavatam is so nectarian, so juicy, so sweet. Forget about the skin, forget about the seed, how it will be. Can you imagine? So it is like this. This Bhagavatam is so relishable. Okay, now we will go through the rest of the verses. So, first 3 verses, as I explained before, that it forms a prelude. Prelude is it just gives it's setting the scene. It is giving what is this Bhagavatam, what it is offering. Now, the rest of the verses, we are going to see how, I'm sure you all have read the first chapter. So, verses 4 to 5 explain about how all the great sages, they came to Naimisharanya. They are already engaged in so many rituals and various activities. Now they are very eager to hear from Sutta Goswami and to hear about what will be the real benefit for the world. So they all came to hear from Sutta Goswami. Verses 4 and 5 explain that. And 6 to 8, basically it gives the glorification of Sutta Goswami. We can see those verses which gives the glorification of Sutta Goswami. And while explaining the glorification of Sutta Goswami, we can also see under that category the qualification of a bona fide speaker. And the rest of the verses, actually if you see, it is all inquiries. Major portions of the rest of the verses are all inquiries of the sages. Now under the inquiries of the sages, I have subdivisions. Now what I will do, so that just to give you an idea, that the rest of the verses from 9 to 23, it speaks about the various questions that the sages are posing. Now under that there are some categories that we will see as we go through the verses now. Is it okay? First, let's just for the seeing the flow, we will also read the translation. Naimishe nimisha kshetre rishaya shaunakadayah satram swargaya lokaya sahasra samamasata. Once in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. So that's what is happening. Prabhupada is pointing out here. The Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. In one lecture, Prabhupada says, what this Naimisharanya is such a vibrant and potent place that even when the moment you just go there, that means in any spiritual place, you immediately you become very peaceful. Everything you calm down, you cool down. Very apt place for practicing spiritual life. Like that, Prabhupada in one lecture he speaks about that. The Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. Human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered, and one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. So this Naimisharanya, also the place has got a very specific significance that that's called as the hub of the universe. You might have heard this. That's a central place. From that hub, if you just see the entire cosmology, that's called the hub, means that's the center place. Okay, the next verse. I may not read the Sanskrit. Let's go to the translation. Shloka 5. One day after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Suta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. So, what are those following matters? Just we will be seeing. So, Prabhupada gives a definition of who is a Goswami here. So, he speaks about all the bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. The Goswamis do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. What does that mean? They just don't just speak whatever they want to speak. They speak what the previous acharyas have spoken. So we said this fruit of this ripened fruit, it's coming in parampara very carefully. It is handed over very carefully. It's coming so nicely. Not being mishandled, not being maneuvered, not being manipulated. Just as it is being presented in the parampara. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Okay, Shloka 6. Rishaya uchuhu tvaya kalu puranani setihasani chanaga akyatanyapyadhitani dharma shastrani yanyuta. Okay, some words are nice words here. We will just see that. Anaga, freed from all vices. Dharma shastrani, scriptures giving right directions to progressive life. So, it is, I'll read the translation. The sages said, respected Suta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. So, this is an important characteristic of a pure person. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. He has heard it, he has assimilated it, he has read it and he has spoken about it also. So you are well versed. They are acknowledging Suta Goswami's position. So Prabhupada in this particular purport, he is clearly delineating what are the qualities of a bona fide speaker. A Goswami or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva must be free from all kinds of vices. The four major vices are, so which is the basic thing that we follow in our Hare Krishna movement, or for anybody to be called as a human being, you should try to be free from the four pillars of sinful activities, isn't it? Illicit connection with the women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling, all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. So you can't just do any nonsense and sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless in character and who is not freed from the above mentioned vices. Prabhupada is giving a warning. There are so many people who are running spiritual institutions. So many people are big kathakars. But we have seen in the history how in the name of religious institution, how people have cheated, how people have completely misused. So Prabhupada is giving a warning here as in respect to the quality of Suta Goswami, how he was such a noble person, a pure person who was very much qualified to speak about the Bhagavatam. And not that, according to me, what I feel is, this is what I feel. This is not according to me, according to my mental speculation. No, what the scriptures are speaking, what the Vedas are saying. Prabhupada is pointing out here. You should be well versed in the revealed scriptures, Vedas, the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, parts of the Vedas. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. One can assimilate to hear and explain them. Okay, please listen to this point. A very nice point Prabhupada is speaking here. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. The knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Now, what is the point Prabhupada is trying to say here? Now, see, you have studied, you have heard from someone, the knowledge becomes more realized when you also share that knowledge with others, when you speak that knowledge to others, as it is you present it, then you get the mercy in the parampara, and your realizations get broadened. That's what Prabhupada is speaking here. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. The two processes of Shravana and Kirtana are of primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. So again we should remind this. Properly you hear. See, Prabhupada, he just really heard from Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a very good listener, he very carefully gave oral reception, and you can see he's a very powerful preacher, very powerful speaker. So it's a very preliminary requisite for any sadhaka to give proper oral reception from parampara. So unless we properly hear, we will not be able to properly present the message. So for us, hearing is in two ways. We read Prabhupada's books, and we also hear from Prabhupada's representative, Srila Prabhupada himself, through his tapes, through his other various lectures, and also his representatives, his sincere followers. We hear from them. Then we hear, and then what we do, whatever that we know, whatever that we have heard, and we just repeat that message from whatever that realizations that we have. Then we will be able to really make progress. That's why we see in our movement, we have from day one, people are engaged in preaching activities. Whatever that you hear, whatever that you just preach. Preach means what? We may distribute books, we may say some points about Krishna. We will not speculate, we will just repeat the message of the parampara. Parrot, not like parrot just saying something. We hear it, we digest it, we try to practice it, and by doing this we get realizations, isn't it? Prabhu, I have not realized that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul. But you theoretically, you have heard it, and you are practicing it in your life. You may not completely fully realize, but whatever is your realization, and you can see that there are changes happening in your life by following these principles of devotional service. Anger is getting reduced, lust is getting reduced, lower tendencies are getting reduced. This is a simple proof that this process works. So that's how one gets realization. So by hearing, by proper hearing, and then by assimilating the knowledge that we have heard, and then we practice it, and then we get realization. So this is a very good understanding Prabhupada gives, how one will be able to relish the subject, one will be able to share that knowledge. Okay, here is one point that we may be wondering how, which is from the next part, but so let's go to that. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. Yes, Sutta Goswami basically he learned the entire spectrum of the message of the Vedas. Everything he gathered, he very submissively heard, and he assimilated it, and he could speak on any subject. So they duly glorified him, and they acknowledged his position. And Prabhupada, while in this particular purport, he is making a point. He is saying that theism is explained completely in the Vedanta Sutra, whereas in other systems of philosophical speculations, practically no mention is given to the ultimate cause of all causes. One can sit on the Vyasasana only after being conversant in all systems of philosophy, so that one can present fully the theistic views of the Bhagavatam in defiance of all other systems. Srila Sutta Goswami was the proper teacher, and therefore the sages at Naimisharanya elevated him to the Vyasasana. So when we were studying this epistemology seminar, so we had a quick overview of this Sad-darshanas. So this Bhagavatam, in this Bhagavatam, if you see the entire Bhagavatam, what it is, Bhagavatam is direct commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So we can see all the different darshanas are again and again being defeated by Vyasadeva himself in the Bhagavatam. You can see different presentations. Now for us, those who are followers of Srila Prabhupada, throughout his books, we can see that it may not be explicitly said, but we can see Prabhupada is, he's just in his books we can see that this world, everything is created by, life has not come from matter, life has come from life. So that is one misconception that comes from that everything is a combination of atoms. I'm just giving you one example. That there is a concept that everything has come from atoms. Not everything has come from atoms, which may be true up to some extent, but actually there is what is the cause of those atoms? So those things, Prabhupada is continuously in his books is defeating all these conceptions. This idea of impersonalism, the idea of everything is analyzed just analysis of the matters. The real Sankhya, the teachings of Kapila, it establishes that also there is analysis of all the material elements, but from the devotional perspective, how there is a Paramatma behind, or the Supreme Person is behind all the creations of the matter. So like that, there are different philosophies which are presented, which are called as part of the 6 darshanas. All those things systematically, the Bhagavatam itself is defeating. So karma mimamsa, that everything, you just do your work, you just do your karma properly, then the Lord has to give the results. So that is being defeated. So like the different concepts of these darshanas are consistently defeated in the book of Bhagavatam. And so any devotee who regularly reads Prabhupada's books, who he understands these basic conclusions of the Siddhanta. So then he becomes eligible to speak. So sometimes we may get this question, Prabhu, how can you are asking me to give Bhagavatam class? I have not completely studied all the darshanas, and then I'm not super well versed. No, you read Prabhupada's books regularly, and if you carefully analyze, then you will be seeing that all the 6 darshanas are already defeated. The Bhagavatam itself defeats it, and Prabhupada also in the purport he defeats all these misconceptions. Okay, in the shloka number 8, we will just go to the shloka 8. And here again another very nice attitude is being said here. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. You see again another qualification of Sutta Goswami is explained. So first Sutta Goswami, he said that he is free from all the vices. He has studied all the Puranas, he has studied all the Vedas, and he has learnt it from his previous acharyas. Now it is explained here that you have been very submissive. This is again another qualification. Without submission, knowledge is not revealed. Without pleasing the spiritual master and the parampara, the real knowledge, you cannot get to know what is the conclusion of all the Siddhantas. And you have very systematically learned from them, he says that. So that Prabhupada immediately in the purport is addressing this point. The secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting his sincere blessings. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has sung in his famous 8 stanzas on the spiritual master as follows, which you are all aware of. I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Only by his satisfaction one can please the personality of Godhead. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. And when he is dissatisfied, there is only havoc on the path of spiritual realization. We should always, throughout our lives, remember this most important principle. We may study so many things, basic principle, we should never forget that ultimately our life is meant to please the spiritual master, be submissive to him and his followers. Sometimes we think only spiritual master, me and him. But also under his guidance there are so many others who are serving. We should also be responsible. So Hari, Guru, Vaishnavas. That's why this triangle is there. Hari, Guru, Vaishnavas. So that's the point. So Sutta Goswami possessed all those wonderful qualities. He had all these great qualities in him. Okay, now the first 3 questions we will see. They're going to, now having glorified Sutta Goswami, now they are coming a step forward. Now they're going to ask the questions. So this also we can see, we will again and again see in this Bhagavatam, before asking some questions, before asking for some boons, before approaching, this is proper system. First just go and then glorify that person, see what you acknowledge his qualities, then you start this thing. Now this culture is not at all there. Just the moment you meet a person in this modern life, we are just completely gone from this Vedic culture. The moment you just, can you do me this, can you do that, can you do this? This is how the whole material world in the modern culture it is like this. But we learn this culture from Bhagavatam, so beautiful, that how to approach, how to speak, how to acknowledge. It's showing wonderful way of leading life. The culture is also shown here. Okay. We will see the first 3 questions in the verses from 9 to 13. So this is a subdivision. This is our own division that we have made. Everybody can have their own divisions, but this is how we have split it. So the first three questions we're going to see. Okay, the shloka number is 9. Tatra tatranjasa yushman bhavata yad vinishchitam pungsam ekantata shreyas tanna sangsitum arhasi. So this is the first point. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. This is the very first question that the sages in Naimisharanya, under the leadership of whom? Saunaka Rishi, posing this question to Suta Goswami. So this is the first question. The famous 6 questions from the very first chapter. This is the first question.
Good for people.
So, okay. This is how I put the first question. What is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? Okay. In fact, you can just stick to the exact translation also. There is no problem with that also. In translation itself, that point is there. That's what I have just done. From the translation, I have almost put the same words. Okay. Now, there is one small... Prabhupada here makes a nice point. Prabhupada says that the Acharyas and Goswamis are always absorbed in thought of the well-being of the general public, especially their spiritual well-being. So this is a very glorious aspect. So they are always considering how to bring benefit to the common people. This is the difference between a sadhu and a sadhu. They are always concerned how to bring benefit to the people. Bhavadbir Lokamangalam. Again, also I will see another verse. They are always concerned for the Lokamangalam. The Acharyas therefore give directions in spiritual well-being for people in general. Suta Goswami gave a summary of all revealed scriptures because the people of this age are condemned in every respect. The sages therefore inquired of the absolute good, which is the ultimate good for the people. The condemned state of affairs of the people of this age is described as follows. So now this here, if you see in the translation, he says, so tell us what is the really beneficial. Tell me ultimately what is really beneficial. Why? Because he knows so many things. No, if you ask him, he will speak from so many different things. He says, really, you just give the essence. Tell what will be really. And we will see how the verses unfolds, how he pinpoints. Are you getting the point? Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary, he says this. He says that, so he says, so shall I speak on everything? No. Then immediately they're answering. He's saying that, okay, just tell us, pinpoint us. Because you know so many things, we want to know exactly what it is. Okay, let's go to the next verse. So now they are just concerned, they are just pointing out that what is the problem? Why we are just pointing you to this? We are asking you to just tell us really what is essential. So now we can understand that they are now explaining the people of Kali Yuga. What is the problem? What is the problem that we are faced with? We are faced with the problem of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga people are short-lived. People don't have sufficient strength. Their lifespan is less. That's what this verse is explaining. This is an important verse to learn. So for 1, 2, 3 important verses. 1, 2, 3 are important verses to learn. And then for those who are super interested in learning verses, they can just learn the verse 9 also, just to know the question. This verse you should be very helpful in preaching in Krishna consciousness. Prayena alpaisha sabhya kalau asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadritaha. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, but because of this is a amazing purport by Prabhupada. Few things we will just see. Very beautifully Prabhupada has presented it. Because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. I'll repeat this again. overeating, over sense gratification. Eating is not condemned. Even in some way gratifying the senses is also not condemned. Dependence on another's, taking help from others also is not condemned, but over dependence on another's mercy and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. This is the whole point. The human energy is sucked in all these things. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. Brilliant point by Prabhupada, okay. But due to a bad system of education, men have no desire for self-realization. Even if they come to know about it, they unfortunately become victims of misguided teachers. In the schools and colleges, this is what is happening. And then comes then comes Prabhupada's point. Then Prabhupada very brilliantly speaks about the need for the Varna and Ashrama. How by following gradually developing in the Varna and Ashrama, one can make proper progress. He speaks about that. Prabhupada at the end, he says that material sense gratification is now the standard of civilization. For the maintenance of such material civilizations, man has formed complex nations and communities. And there is a constant strain of hot and cold wars between these different groups. And also Prabhupada is pointing out one more thing. In the name of religion, what is happening? So many sinful acts are being carried on that the people in general have neither peace of mind nor health of the body. In the name of religion also cheating is going on. So this purport, pay attention to this purport. I'm not going through the entire one. But Prabhupada very nicely explaining the current situation of the Kali Yuga. And so how there is a need for this spiritual culture, Prabhupada is explaining. Okay, we will go to the next verse. So having explained this situation, now the rishis are very smart, very intelligent. They're saying, Suta Goswami, this is the situation. That is why we are very pinpointing to you. Please give us very specifically. Bhurini bhuri karmani shrotavyani vibhagashah atas sadho trayatsarang samudhritya manishaya bruhi badhraya bhutanam yenatma suprasidhati. So he says there are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, so that by such instructions their hearts may be fully satisfied. So here he is specifically pointing, please select the essence of all the scriptures. So these first two questions, the answer we will see in the second chapter with the Savai Pumsam Parodharma verse, which gives the answers for this. Both the things are answered. What is the essence of all the scriptures? And then here he is saying what is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. So this is the first one. Yeah.
It is not the same these questions like the previous one, first question.
No, it may say it's a similar one. He's saying that what is absolute and good for the people in general. What is that what they do, by doing what they will really be happy. So that is what they have to do. And also, what is the final conclusions of all the scriptures? It appears similar, but one is final conclusion of all the scriptures is understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God and we are all His eternal servants, and we have to engage in unmotivated devotional service. There is a slight demarcation in the. You can club both these questions, but they are explicitly asking about what is the essence of the scriptures. They are asking, and then they are asking again, what is the real good that can happen for the people So by engaging in devotional service, that will be the real good, and the essence of the scriptures is to understand that Krishna is Supreme Lord and ultimately pure devotional service. Yes, it's quite very much related. This is how the questions are being posed. Prabhupada here in this purport 11 is pointing out the Varna and Ashrama society was considered to be the best institution for lifting the human being to the spiritual platform. But due to Kali Yuga, it is not possible to execute the rules and regulations of these institutions. Nor is it possible for the people in general to completely sever relations with their families as the Varnashrama institution prescribes. The whole atmosphere is surcharged with opposition. One can see that spiritual emancipation for the common man in this age is very difficult. The reason the sages presented this matter to Sri Suta Goswami is explained in the following verses. So, also in the Kali Yuga, what is the situation? Everything is topsy-turvy, very difficult to follow anything. So in this situation, how to bring people bring them to the platform of that which is eternally good for them. So that is what is required. Okay, question 3. Let's go to the next aspect of it. Suta janasi bhadrang te bhagavan satvatang patihi devakyang vasudevasya jato yasya chikirshaya. All blessings upon you, O Suta Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of God had appeared in the womb of Devaki as a son of Vasudeva. It's a very clear question. Then that third question is asking, what is the reason that the Lord has appeared as the son of Vasudeva? Third question, what purpose the personality of God appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? Now, actually, this is the third question, and along with the third question, the 13th verse, if you see, carefully read the translation and the purport, there is also another principle that we see here. O Suta Goswami, I'm just going to the next one. O Suta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and His incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. So I have just marked it with the red there. Now this particular question, please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters or acharyas. For one is uplifted by both speaking them and by hearing them. Now this forms as a basis for all the other questions actually. So you please, as you heard from the other acharyas, you please reveal to us. So third question basically is, this is a question. Why Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki? That is a question. But then Prabhupada, he puts this, you see in the purport he speaks, the conditions for hearing the transcendental message of absolute truth are set forth herein. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager to hear, and the speaker must be in the line of disciplic succession. So Prabhupada is speaking about that disciplic succession from the recognized acharya. He says that, and also before he says that in the translation that imparted by the previous masters or acharyas. So we have just added this also as part of the question. So basically that is the question. But this is also, since Prabhupada is putting this point, we have just marked it that it should be heard in the parampara from the previous acharyas.
This is all third.
All is a third question. But third question, mainly that is the main one. But since Prabhupada has put this, we have just added this as a basis. Because that is how you hear any question, anything should be in the, because he has heard it, everything from, as you heard it from previous acharyas, you please tell us. So that also they are asking. So that because since Prabhupada has put that, we have just added that. Is it clear? Okay. And well, I'm not going to discuss the answers, but I'm just giving a hint. Then you will see in the second canto 34th verse, second chapter 34th verse, that the Lord has appeared to reclaim all the souls who are in pure goodness. That is one of the answers, and there are some other answers also, which we'll be seeing in other parts. We will be, when the second and third chapters are dealt with, you will be seeing the solutions for that. Okay. Now, after having asked these questions, naturally, what is happening is the glory of the holy name. Three things you will see in the next three verses: the glory of the holy name, and the power of the Krishna Katha, and the power of the devotees. Next three verses, that will be glorified. So these three verses are very nice verses. It's good to learn these three verses. Apanna Sanskriting Gorang Yannama Vivasho Granan Tatasadyo Vimuchyeta Yad Bibheti Swayam Bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated measures of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Okay? Yeah, it's an important verse to learn. It's about the power of the holy name. Yes, this speaks about the glory of the holy name. Yes. And Prabhupada takes the opportunity in the purport. At the end, he just speaks. Therefore, the name of Krishna is as powerful as Lord Krishna himself. There is no difference at all. Anyone therefore can take advantage of the holy names of Lord Sri Krishna even in the midst of the greatest dangers. The transcendental name of Krishna, even though uttered unconsciously or by force of circumstances, can help one obtain freedom from the hurdle of birth and death. Now, having explained the glory of holy name, even the fear personified is fearful of it. Having explained that, now this holy name, from whom we hear it from a pure devotee. Yat pada samshraya suta is another important verse. Munaya prashamayanaha sadhyap punantyupasprushta svardhunyapo nusevaya. O Suta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. It is said here that Ganges is Mother Ganga, the water of Mother Ganga is so purifying, no doubt about that. But then again here the glory of devotees is further elaborated. The devotees, even Mother Ganga, she is actually waiting for some devotee to come and take bath, because so many people come and then flush all their sins there. So she's not super enthusiastic and she's just hankering for some devotee, when a devotee will come and take bath. Okay, pure devotees of the Lord are more powerful than the waters of the sacred river Ganges. One can derive spiritual benefit out of prolonged use of the Ganga waters, but one can be sanctified at once by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay. So here suggestion is given. Anyone therefore who takes shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, by accepting the pure devotee as a spiritual master, can at once be purified. Such devotees of the Lord are honored equally with the Lord because they are engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord, for they deliver out of the material world the fallen souls whom the Lord wants to return home back to Godhead. Such pure devotees are better known as wise lords according to revealed scriptures. Wise lords means, the meaning is that they are wise lords means they are what to say?
Vice President.
Yeah, something like that. Not exactly like that, but yeah, they are as good as, the scriptures say that this Sakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastre. The Guru has to be considered as, or the pure devotee has to be considered as good as the Lord himself in that sense. Okay. The sincere disciples of a pure devotee consider him equal with the Lord, but the pure devotee always considers himself to be a humble servant of the Lord. This is the pure devotional path. Okay. You can refer to one verse, 1:19:33. When you get time, you can refer to that. It's a simple verse where Sukadeva Goswami is glorified. Simply by remembering you, our houses become instantly sanctified. So here the point is that, see, for Ganges, for Ganga, you have to have the Ganga water to get purified. Here, even just by remembering the pure devotee, you get purified. This is the glory of a devotee. Okay. You can see the translation purpose. It's very interesting. Okay. Then the next verse, it says that who will not take shelter of this? Kova bhagavatastasya punya shlokedya karmanah shuddhikamo nashruniyad yashak kalimalapaham. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of coral, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? So who will not hear this? Because this is such a wonderful process, the holy name, the pure devotee, and then hearing from the Shastra. Who will not surrender to this process? What more you want? Like that it speaks. The leaders of the people are very much anxious to live in peace and friendship, but they have no information of the simple method of hearing the glories of the Lord. On the contrary, such leaders are opposed to the propagation of the glories of the Lord. In other words, the foolish leaders want to completely deny the existence of the Lord. In the name of secular state, such leaders are enacting various plans every year. But by the insurmountable intricacies of the material nature of the Lord, all these plans for progress are being constantly frustrated. They have no eyes to see that their attempts at peace and friendship are failing. Prabhupada again is pointing out, there are foolish people. This is really wonderful to give oral reception to this kind of messages from the pure devotees. But there are foolish people, they don't have any eyes to see. They are not, even if they have ears, they can't hear it. So this is the pathetic situation. Pashyan apina pashyati. Like that. Even there is one amazing saying. I think Narottama Das Thakur says somewhere that, even when they have the ears, but still they can't really hear what is being actually said. because they don't have the proper attitude, they don't have the faith, so it's all commotion that is happening. Now, having seen these 3 questions, now after having glorified the holy name, glorified the devotee, now we will see the rest of the 3 questions. 17 to 20, further Krishna's glories and the rest of the questions. Tasya karmanyudharani parigitani suribhi bruhina shraddadhananam leelaya dadatakalaha. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious. Udarani, magnificent and gracious. Parigitani Suribihi. And great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Parigitani Suribihi. So the great personalities, what do? They sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. This is how we have put the question. Okay, let's see the purport. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty and knowledge, but the spiritual realm is more significant due to its being full of knowledge, bliss and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom and can be likened to the cinemas. This is a very interesting purport by Prabhupada. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. Actually, the Lord is performing amazing pastimes. The Lord is calling, hey, everybody come to me about. But we are just, because of our lower taste, we are interested in all kinds of mundane things here. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Vyasa and Narada, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. So foolish fellows, what do? They go and watch movies, films and dramas, and then there is fight scene in that, there is love, romance, everything is there, and they are captivated by that, but it's all hallucination, illusion. But the real scenes are going on in the abode of the Lord. So the Lord is giving an open invitation to all of us. So please have a look at this part of the purport. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnations, wherein he displays the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm. So he performs various leelas, amazing activities. So that's why the Lord is also coming down here. He's coming down and perform all his activities for what? 2 reasons are there. One is to have loving exchanges with his pure devotees. Then simultaneously what he does, all fallen souls like us, and we are just stunned. So there is an opportunity for us to hear about him, see about him, and then we also get absorbed in that pastimes. So incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Prithu and Vyasa are his material qualitative incarnations. But his incarnations like Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, Vamana are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Sri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations and he is therefore the cause of all causes. So here various Prabhupada is speaking about, in the purport you can see very carefully, Prabhupada is speaking about different pastimes, right? Different pastimes, different leelas. So they are basically asking, so we want to know about the various incarnations. Tell us about various other incarnations. What the Lord is, adventurous activities that the Lord is performing. We want to know, he's saying. Okay. So in the chapter 3, if you have read the chapter 3, you will find the answers. Chapter 3 starting with, the material substance, various Leela avatar, Purusha avatars. Specifically, just before the chapter 3 beginning also there is information about Purusha avatar. Specifically, the end of the second chapter itself, we will see the Purusha avatars mentioned. And then starting there, Leela avatars, Guna avatars, everything in a small overview. Vyasadeva is explaining about that.
What is the difference between previous one? That the sages are asking to Sutta Goswami, please describe the Krishna's pastimes and all this.
Yeah, the previous one, third question was about, he's asking what is the reason that the Lord has appeared. Just asking the reason the Lord has appeared in the womb of Devaki. That is the question. Now in this question, he specifically is asking about that Krishna's various incarnations. We want to know the various adventures of that. That's what he is specific about, asking about the various adventures that he is performing. And in the previous question, he is just asking the reason for the Lord's appearance. Okay. Atakya hi harer diman avatarak kata shubha Leela Vidadatak Swairam Ishwarasyatma Mayaya. Ishwarasyatma Maya. Okay. Avatarak Katha Shubha. Oh wise Sutta, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Godhead's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by His internal powers. Again, here also the purport is very important. Please pay attention to this. For the creation, I'm just reading one section of the purport. For the creation, maintenance and destruction of the material worlds, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead Himself, appears in many thousands of forms of incarnations. And the specific adventures found in those transcendental forms are all auspicious. Both those who are present during such activities and those who hear the transcendental narrations of such activities are benefited. So here they are asking, if you very specifically see, here they are asking about, we also want to know about the creation, maintenance and annihilation. So from Prabhupada's purport we can understand that. Here also it appears similar, but again there is a specific thing they are asking. Basically, if you see in this question 4 and 5, they want to know all the various incarnations of the Lord. We want to know about Krishna's various incarnations and what are all the adventures he is performing. But very carefully, if you look at the purports of Prabhupada, you get a hint. You get a hint that in this verse, this 5th question, it's speaking about what? Yeah, Purusha avatars. Yeah, you can say that. So that's the thing. You can just take a look at one of the verse. Just want to show that. Okay, can somebody read the verse number 18 now?
Verse 2. Athakhya hi harer dhiman avatar katha shubha leela vidadata swairam ishwarasya atmamaya.
Ishwarasya atmamaya. Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavan atmamaya. And what is this? If you see the 3 verses, it's all explaining about the creation, maintenance and destruction. So we can say that these are dealing with the Purusha avatars. These are requesting. So just for your clarification, and how we come to this understanding, we are sticking to Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada is hinting this in this purport. He is speaking about the material worlds, creation, maintenance and destruction. And in the previous verse, the purport, if you see, is being Krishna, Supreme Lord, all his incarnations, all his expansions, various activities they are performing, he's speaking about that also. So that's the whole point. Okay. Now let's go to the again. So as we said that now again the glories of hearing the Bhagavatam is mentioned. Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yat shrinvatam rasajnanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with Him relish hearing His pastimes at every moment. So this is the beauty of the subject matter of the Bhagavatam, a spiritual subject matter. You never get bored. You never get tired. Even sometimes you may raise a question. Prabhu, sometimes, again in a prayer, again he's coming in front of the Lord. He's saying, you are such and such a great, you are this, you are that, same old thing. Somebody may speak like this. But if you see the context in which it is being spoken, but if you see with what mood it is being exhibited, if you see the affection that is being poured by the particular devotee, then you are also stunned by those prayers. It may be a repetition of something, but you never feel bored when you understand exactly in what context it is being spoken, in glorifying the Lord, and how the mood of devotion is expressed. So that is what here they are saying. We would like to hear more and more. We would like to hear more and more. So specifically those who are advanced devotees, they are every letter, every syllable, every word, they are getting inspiration. Okay. Prabhupada speaks about this. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. For example, anyone may read the Bhagavad Gita or the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam repeatedly throughout the whole life and yet find in them new light of information. Mundane news is static, whereas the transcendental news is dynamic. Inasmuch as the spirit is dynamic and matter is static, those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. Like all of you had 2 hours class, now you are patiently listening. One is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. Uttama Shloka indicates that literature which is not meant for nescience, mundane literature, is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature is above the mode of darkness, and its light becomes more luminous with progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. You see, this is the thing. How many times you can watch the same movie? 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and then you feel you feel a little bored. But how many times we can hear the same incidents from Ramayana, the same incidents from Krishna Leela, the same incidents from the Nrsimha pastime, but it's every time you touch it, every time you open it, it is very, very, it's fresh, and you get more and more realizations. You just keep reading the Bhagavatam, and then I never noticed. Second, when you read even Bhagavad Gita, anything for that matter, when you read first time, some purification happens, you are getting some idea, getting some realization, and you read second time, and then you say, so much information is packed in this, amazing. Third time you read again, so much is unpacked. The more and more we get purified, the more and more we get realization also. That's why you see advanced devotees, every single line, every single very carefully they are reading, and they are so much in bliss. This is a beauty. So that's what exactly the Rishis are saying here. We are completely in bliss. We would like to hear more and more. Swadu swadu pade pade. Yeah, it's a good verse to learn. Yes. Okay, here again they are speaking about that particular Lord. What is his position? Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava atimartyani bhagavan guda kapata manushaha. So that Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality, along with Balarama, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. So I'm not going to get into the purport of this. Yeah, anthropomorphism and zoomorphism, exact definitions. The representation of the objects as having human forms or traits. So when God comes as in the human form, so the scholars and others, they have a particular study, they call it as anthropomorphism, and then they just make a mockery of it. They don't take it seriously about that. And zoomorphism is that the same attributes of even animals are attributed to God. So that is called as the zoomorphism. For example, God comes in the form of let's say Varaha or Matsya, or they call it, what is this God, this is animals, what is it? They can't relate. They just make a mockery of it. So that's called as zoomorphism, and this is called as anthropomorphism. It's a specific study that is being done. Okay, Prabhupada speaks about it. I'll just, since you asked, I'll just get into that. This process of concocting an incarnation of God has become an ordinary business, especially in Bengal. Any popular personality with a few traits of mystic powers will display some feat of jugglery and easily become an incarnation of Godhead by popular vote. Lord Sri Krishna was not that type of incarnation. He was actually the personality of Godhead from the very beginning of his appearance. This is the whole point. You cannot see him. Nobody can understand him. Only with the eyes of devotion you can see. In front of Duryodhana, Supreme Lord was there. He could see. So throughout the whole life he was there. He said, here is a mystical person. When he showed a partial manifestation of the universal form, when he came as a messenger, he couldn't appreciate. So that's the whole point here. So he masked, because the Lord has masked himself. Not everybody could figure it out. And Kunti Maharani very nicely, she is discussing about those things. Okay.
This is also important.
This verse, yeah, it is an important verse, but I will at the end tell you what is that you have to learn, but it's a good verse to learn, definitely. Okay, 21 to 23, the remaining verses poses the question. Kalima, I will discuss about that, don't worry about it, okay. Kalimagatam agnaya kshetresmin vaishnave vayam asina dhirga satrena katayam sankshana harehe. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in the holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. The sages of Naimisharanya began this process in a place meant specifically for the devotees of the Lord. They prepared themselves to hear the pastimes of the Lord over a period of 1000 years. By the example of these sages, one should learn that regular hearing and recitation of the Bhagavatam is the only way for self-realization. Other attempts are simply a waste of time, for they do not give any tangible results. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the system of Bhagavata Dharma. So that is the whole point. We will do this yagya, we will do that yagya, we will do this vastu, we will do that vastu, we will get into this astrology, we will do Reiki, we will perform all this, we will do Vishwa, what is that? Vishwa Shanti Yagya for the world peace. It's all, you are not going to get any peace. The best peace in this Kali Yuga is to get to the process of Nama Sankirtan, as it is like Bhagavata Shravan Nama Sankirtan. It's a very powerful process. So that is what here we learn from this great sages. Okay, so this is again there is a glorification about again they are glorifying how we got you Suta Goswami as our leader. Tvamna Sandarshito Dhatra, this is a very good verse to learn. Tvamna Sandarshito Dhatra Dustaro Nistitirshatam Kalim Sattva Harang Pumsam Karnadharo Ivarnavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as the captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. So they are offering their respects to Suta Goswami, that you are under your guidance, we will be able to safely cross this ocean of nescience. So many times we can see this verse in the Vyasa Puja offerings and like that. That's a verse glorifying the Guru. We have in our boat, ISKCON boat, we have Srila Prabhupada as the captain of the boat, and he's safely guiding us. So Prabhupada says the whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. So what is happening when you go to the school, when you go to different technological institutes, you become more and more blinded, you become more and more deeply engrossed in ignorance. As a result, you go far away from the service of God and your relationship with God. That is why Prabhupada is calling it a slaughterhouse. Oh, slaughterhouse. What is this? Schools are compared to slaughterhouse. Why slaughterhouse? Because literally the soul is slaughtered. Of course, the soul cannot be slaughtered. This opportunity to come up and develop his relationship with the Supreme Lord it's gone. That is why Prabhupada is speaking using very strong words of slaughterhouse. So he says slaughterhouse education. So to come out of the slaughterhouse education, we have to take shelter of the pure devotee who is coming in parampara, who is carrying this message of the Bhagavatam. By taking shelter of him, by surrendering to him, you will be able to overcome this conditioning. Okay. Then the last question. Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne Brahmanye Dharmavarmani Swam Kashtam Aduno Pete Dharmakam Sharanam Gataha. So Dharmakam Sharanam Gataha, where the Dharma has taken shelter after Krishna left this abode. Since Sri Krishna is absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. So Prabhupada is pointing out that the sages assembled in Naimisharanya, they were very much concerned. So where Krishna has now left this world, where do we take shelter? And then we can see the famous verse, Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnanadivi Saha. So the same Supreme Lord has appeared as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Puranarko Dhunoditaha. So this Purana is like the sun which gives light for the conditioned people who are in darkness. They are saving the people from this conditioning. So this is basically the first chapter. The answers, these 6 questions will again be discussed in the second and third chapters. Again the 6 answers for the 6 questions will be discussed. So at that time you will see in detail. And I'll just again summarize what we have seen so far. In the first 3 verses we have seen the Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana, and then verses from 4 to 5 the sages assemble in the Naimisharanya under the leadership of Shaunaka Rishi to hear from Suta Goswami. They glorify Suta Goswami, and then after glorifying Suta Goswami, they are very humbly presenting the situation for the welfare of all the people, asking 6 questions which forms the basis of the first chapter of the Bhagavatam. And this, in fact, the answers are the entire Bhagavatam, and throughout the Bhagavatam these topics will be discussed. These questions will be answered again and again. There will be more elaborate. It will be elaborated. All the second and third chapter gives hints, but you will see the principles being elaborated in the rest of the Bhagavatam also. So yeah, so that's about it. And okay, I'll just remind you some of the verses which you have to. Yeah, the first 3 verses. Yeah, you can please pay attention to the first 3 verses. Yeah, 10th verse. Prayana alpaidas sabhyah. Then yeah, this apanna samsritim gorim yatpada samshraya suta vayam tu na vitrupyama. Important verses. Tvamna sandarshito dhatra. Also.
Verse number.
Okay, I'll just go tell you the verse numbers. Verse 1 to 3. Verse number 10. Verse number 11. Verse number 11. Not required. That's also like, hey, if you, it is now there are 2 things I'm just going to tell you. One is for your own personal memorization. You can just learn the 6 questions are there, no? 6 questions verses you can learn, but I'm not going to expect you to learn that. But I'm just saying you can learn. It's good. So the 11th one is one of the questions actually. Then 14th one, the 14, 15 and 19 is Apanna Samskritim Goram, then Yatpada Samshraya Sutta. Then 19th one, again it's the 19th one is glorifying about the hearing.
11, 14, 15, 19.
Yes. And then 22 for sure. That's it. These are the important verses. If you want, sometimes, it is also very interesting when you want to relate, when you speak about where the dharma has taken shelter. You can also learn this verse. A nice, simple, nice verse. Where they're asking the question where the dharma has taken shelter, and then the answer is Krishna Swadhama Pagate. You can learn these 2 verses. But 23, if you want, you can learn. So these are the important verses. And okay, now we can. Sorry, we're supposed to stop at 12:15. Now, please, I would like to give some time for questions. If you have any specific questions, any doubts, because as I said, I have not dealt with the entire purport. Some specific points only we dealt with. But you may, if you have noted down something somewhere, you can ask now, or during the day, today, tomorrow, any day, you can just come up with the questions. If you have not understood it clearly, anything, you can just come back. On some points in the purpose, if it's not clear, also you can ask. Now, for now, if you have any questions, we have 5 minutes. We can, yes, one by one. Yes, I'll finish it. Yes.
What is the 5th question?
5th question. Okay. 5th question is. Please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Person of Godhead's multi-incarnations. Exactly going by the translation. You can also tell us of the acts of the Lord performs in relationship to creating the material world. This is from I just made this from the Prabhupada's purport. The Prabhupada exactly he puts the acts of Lord performs in relationship to the material world based on the purport here. So that's why we said that this is referring to Purusha avatars. But you just stick to this thing. You can put the question either way as we have given here. You can write both the things. No problem. If you just go by the translation of Prabhupada, he says, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Person of Godhead's multi-incarnations. 4 when he says adventures, but he says this seems to be even more easy. When you say, but both are speaking about incarnations, you may get confused. So when you just, the previous one, it speaks about, it's almost like Leela avatars, it's about various other avatars. This one is very specific about, they're asking about this. Purusha. Yes. Any other question? Yes, so Krishna Prabhu.
Oh, this 21.
Yeah.
21 this shlok number.
Okay.
In purport, Srila Prabhupada says, this age of Kali.
Let me also go there. Okay, anyway, you read. Let me go there. No problem, you read.
No, it was a little smaller.
Yeah, no problem. Tell please.
This age of Kali is not at all suitable for self-realization as was Satya Yuga, the golden age, or Treta or Dwapar Yugas, the silver and copper ages. So
Okay.
why Prabhupada says it is silver and copper is like that?
Silver and copper edges. Okay, what is this? We have gold, silver, copper, iron.
Iron is iron age. So what is the link or something?
No, you see, in the first age, in the Satya Yuga, Krite, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali, right? First Yuga, you see the intelligence of the people, the bodily strength, intelligence, everything is to the top class, everything is so perfect. So you can say that as a golden age. Understanding everything is top class, and the lifespan was 1 lakh years. Then the next stage, the intelligence, the capacity is little reduced. Then the lifespan, if you see, that was 1 lakh years, it reduced to 10,000 years. And then the next stage, Dwapara, again, if you see from the intelligence, the capacity of the mind, intelligence, again it's further reduced. Then it has come down to, just take one more cipher, then it becomes 1,000 years, the lifespan. Then again, you further, in Kali Yuga, and again everything, the Kali Yuga, the explanation is right there in this verse. Manda Sumanda Mapayor, Manda Bhagavatam is out worst. Nothing, in the time 5 minutes back, before I read something, I also forget. This is how the Kali Yuga is like that. So again, the lifespan was reduced to 100 years. So basically, I think, when Prabhupada says,
metals.
gold, it's just a hierarchy. Gold, then silver, then bronze, then iron, then plastic. Kali Yuga, all these things you get. So just basically just a gradation, that's all. Yes, bro.
And the fifth question, bro. It can be simply for Guna Avatar also. Because creation, maintenance, and destruction.
Yeah, you may say. That's what I told you, that if you just go through the purport, and when you may say that, but when you just look at, that's why I showed you that verse 1 to 30. Atma Maya. This verse also says Atma Maya, that also says Atma Maya. And then if you see the 3 verses, it is explaining about how the Lord basically as Mahavishnu, then he expands into Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, then from there Shirodaka Sai Vishnu, all those things. Yeah, so if you too much drill down on this thing, you just take those 2 questions as like this. Basically, all the incarnations they want to know, and you will see all those incarnations described in the Bhagavatam. 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, and then 3rd canto, 4th canto. 3rd canto again more descriptions are given about this Purusha Avataras. The 11th canto there is some description about the creation and all those things. So just going by the purport, we just gave this explanation.
So it explains Purusha Avatar here. This 5th question.
Yeah,
So
it's Purusha Avatara. Yes, bro.
Second verse, Dharma Projita.
Yes.
It was mentioned that the highest truth, or beginning of the Tara.
The highest truth, translation. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Okay.
Such truth uproots the 3-fold miseries.
Correct.
Srila Prabhupada says highest truth is to realize Bhagavan, not the impersonal. But we see those jnanis, those who are meditating on Brahman, and if they want to merge, if they want to come out of the material world, they should be rid of 3-4 miseries. So how to understand this?
Yeah, that is, if you see, when a person comes up to the bodily concept of life, right? That's what happens. When just even to, who are the jnanis? Jnanis are out of the bodily concept of life.
That's not the highest truth.
No, but that's all. That's, you see what is happening. Try to understand. First level, what is happening is he is in the bodily concept of life. By taking shelter, by coming out of the sense gratificatory activities, he's out of the sense gratificatory activities because of his spiritual practice. By practicing jnana also involves renunciation, control of senses, and all these things.
Even then, miseries are uprooted, even while doing jnana process.
What miseries are uprooted?
3-4 miseries.
Yeah.
So,
but okay, this is the point. Okay, now I'm getting your question. Okay, even then the miseries are uprooted. Then, unless and until you totally give up this independent position and you become selflessly serve the Supreme Lord, what is happening is, that's why this verse is there. Avishuddha Buddhaya. Even in your, if you take up, if you go to the the Brahman, if you have Brahman realization, you go up there. Because of your tendency to imitate the Lord, you again come back, and there you don't have transcendental pleasure because you feel yourself alone. You may be apparently out of the bodily concept of life, but still the soul cannot relish the real pleasure of serving the Lord. So that is why this verse again and again, Brahma in Brahma's prayer also, this verse again and again repeated. That even by the jnana prayasam, even by your jnana and all those things, you may attain, you may come up to the Brahman realization, but again you fall down because of the because the soul is also hankering for happiness. It cannot be happy just by being alone. So he has to. That is why he comes back. Again he comes back and engages in material activities. So that is why Prabhupada is saying that one will be able to be totally uproot all the threefold miseries. Because even though he comes out of this threefold miseries apparently, but he cannot be there in that position eternally.
That's what category of the threefold?
Which one?
Is he having problem with the mind, adhyatmika? Those jnanis, those.
Yeah, here it is speaking about when it says about you're uprooted of threefold miseries. Prabhupada very clearly says adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika. One is able to overcome all these threefold. Yeah, any spiritualist for that matter, when he is not anymore engaged in the bodily concept of life, in sense gratificatory activities, he will be able to come out of that. But the permanently he will be out of it only when he is completely engaged in the absolute truth. Because it's not possible. Yes.
What is Upasana Kanda?
Upasana Kanda. Yeah. So we have Karma Kanda, and in the Karma Kanda there are so many Upasana Kanda is basically worship. Actually, it refers in the Upasana Kanda primarily it's the worship of the Supreme Lord. That is what it is. But what is happening is Prabhupada is speaking about this. He's speaking about the Pancha Upasana. There is Pancha Upasana in which the deities Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, Vishnu, and one more Surya. Yes, all these 5 deities they engage in this worship. One thing, everything is one. And just to start with, you will do this worship, and then you will give this. So there are some people having this. They do this kind of upasana, and some people they do a lot of demigod worship also. But actually, Upasana Kanda refers to in Karma Kanda also these things are happening. So from Karma Kanda he just transgresses a Karma Kanda, then he comes to the path of Jnana, and then from Jnana, definitely by the touch of devotee, he raises himself to the Upasana. He raises himself to the proper worship of the Lord. That's what actually should happen. But in between, he was also actually thinking about it. Why in Upasana Kanda I was speaking about. But these things are happening. These things are happening in the name of Upasana. They do Devi Upasana. They do all this demigod Upasana. But that's not the aim. But all these things are rejected from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam doesn't recommend all these things. It's a direct worship of Satyam Parang Dhimahi. In the very first verse, it has established that.
So this Upasana and here, what Prabhupada is mentioning, that is about that Panchopasana.
Yeah, Prabhupada elsewhere in another place he speaks about that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, in some other lectures, he speaks about the Pancha Upasana and other Upasana. Other demigods are also being worshipped. He does speak about that.
Just here when Prabhupada is writing Karma Kanda means...
which purport you are talking about?
This.
Okay, let me just go there. Yeah, please read.
Third.
No problem, please read. So you can read that. Okay, here. In the Karma Kanda, there is competition to reach heavenly planets for better sense gratification. And there is similar competition in the Jnana Kanda and the Upasana Kanda.
So that
Yes. Yeah. Because other places also, if you see Upasana Kanda means worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is also there. Yeah. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is even higher than the Upasana Kanda. It's there, but also in some other places there is a mention. So here it's particularly talking about this kind of upasanas. It's Pancha Upasana, these demigod upasanas and all these things. Is it clear?
Can you speak
Yes.
of this Sambandha with Prayojan?
Okay. It's an important question, and it's important for us to understand. See, if you see the entire teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all this entire teachings is based on in a scientific way we understand the study of the Vedas. About Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. Sambandha, Jnana, the knowledge of Sambandha is the basic principle by which we understand who we are, who is God, why this world is created, why sufferings are imposed on me, and you get to know about this. So in this, in relation to the first verse of the Bhagavatam, this very clearly it is delineating that what is the cause of this origin of this entire everything, that is the Janmad Yasya Yataha. Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. I offer obeisances unto that Vasudeva because he is the cause of everything. From him everything is emanating. So immediately everything is in the very first verse everything is completely clear that he is the topmost authority. So there is no question of I, me, you, or some matter being the. So that is Sambandha is very clearly established. Our relationship with God, that his attributes and everything is established. So that's why we said that the first verse is speaking about the Sambandha. And then what is Abhidaya? Having understood that the God the Supreme Lord is the cause of everything, then having known that what we have to do, how to do, what to do, so that is explained by Abhidaya. Abhidaya is a process by which we revive that relationship. Now for me to revive that relationship, I need to know the Sambandha, I need to know. So that is another relationship. I need to know how am I connected with the Lord. What is my connection? Why I should connect myself with the Lord. So then we get the conception, we are part and parcel, we are a servant like that. Now, in the Abhidaya, the process is given. So how to revive that relationship? So here that is being mentioned in the second verse. It says the Projita Dharma, Dharma Projita Kaitava. So all Kaitava Dharma, it's all rejected. So just, there is no place here, just forget it, just throw away all these things. Then the Sushushubis Takshanat. So you engage in the hearing process. Devotion is exemplified here. Then the Lord immediately gets placed. So this is the process. Then what is the result of this Abhidaya? What is the result of this Abhidaya? The result of this Abhidaya is Prayojana. The result of this Abhidaya is, what is that we are going to get by doing this? You are going to relish the rasa. That is what you are meant for. You are going to relish the topmost love of God. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his philosophy said Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana. Based on these three things we understand everything. So that's how the first three verses are related. And also in the Bhagavad Gita, you take any book, Bhagavad Gita or any other book, anything we can just classify it under these three. Any verse you take, you just either Sambandha or Abhidaya, Prayojana. We can just classify. Sometimes some verse may include Sambandha and Abhidaya and like that. That's also there. Okay, if there are no further questions, we will stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.